And many local Catholics were lucky enough to witness today's history-making speech firsthand.
Eyewitness News reporter Danielle North joins us now from Washington, D.C., where she caught up with a number of Southern New Englanders who made the pilgrimage to see Pope Francis.
Several hundred Rhode Islanders were expected to be in the crowd of almost 30,000 that gathered together outside of the Capitol building to watch the Pope's historic address to Congress. When it was over, it was clear that the Pope was very well received by Congress and the public during his D.C. stay. Following an energizing morning outside of the Capitol building, listening to the Pope's address to a joint meeting of Congress, Rhode Islanders who were here to witness history were invited to gather together at the Washington office of Congressman David Cicilline.
I was very pleased with remarks.
Reverend Israel Mercedes of Providence described watching the Pontiff making his historic address. He, along with many others, were pleased that the Pope addressed issues of poverty, the death penalty, and immigration reform.
We need an immigration reform, and it's on kind of a slow process now. And I think that it revived in the consciousness of the country that we could think about when he said, you know, Jesus himself was a foreigner.
Congressman David Cicilline called Pope Francis an impactful, transformative leader, telling us that he is hopeful the Pontiff's boldness in staking out positions on some of our nation's most volatile issues could lead to changes on Capitol Hill.
It was very much about these are important issues. I have confidence that we can address them, and you have a special role in doing that. But he did it in a very inviting way, in a very inclusive way. Obviously, there are disagreements on many of those policy issues in the Congress, but I think he presented it in a way which was intended not to make it overly political.
Following his address, the Pope appeared briefly before the crowds on the Speaker's balcony. Some of the Rhode Islanders who came here say they brought mementos and religious tokens to be blessed by Pope Francis. Reporting from our nation's capital, I'm Danielle North, Eyewitness News.
We've been checking in with many Rhode Islanders traveling to see the Pope in person.
And new at 6, we're talking to a Cranston couple who says the Pontiff's congressional address moved them to tears. The Pinpoint News Tracker takes you to Washington, D.C. That's where Eyewitness News anchor Danielle North is.
Pope Francis delivered a very simple message of hope and healing. And for Rhode Islanders who witnessed this historic address before Congress, there were moments that they felt clearly moved them and others that they felt were a call to action. Close to 30,000 people crowded together to watch the papal address to Congress on huge jumbotrons, some waiting for hours to get a spot just to see the Pontiff when he emerged on the Speaker's balcony following the address.
He seems to step off the altar and get in amongst the people.
Mike and Diane Bynum of Cranston were clearly moved by the experience and thankful that they made the journey here.
I dropped out of the Catholic Church for a while and then got back in, met my beautiful wife, and he's going back to what Jesus taught. You know, do right by everybody, you know, and just do right. Live a simple life, wears the simple sandals and everything else. You know, it's just an amazing person.
At the small reception for Rhode Islanders held by Congressman David Cicilline, the Bynum shared stories with other men and women who watched in awe as the Pope made history.
It was really moving, and grown men crying. We would turn around and people were like in tears. You know, I had a bunch of my friends give me rosary beads.
I think he hit everything that he needed to, and that we as Americans and as Congress needed to hear that we're part of the world and we need to do this together.
And now that the D.C. leg of the papal trip is over, you can almost feel the city take a big, deep breath after days of intense security, road closures, and that huge behind-the-scenes effort to pull this all off. The Capitol has now bid farewell to Pope Francis. Reporting from Washington, I'm Danielle North, Eyewitness News.